Oh yeah, MK.
Sup?
Okay, so day one gets like it gets a gold star from me. I really like when I predict what kind of chords are going to be in the song and then they appear. It's very, very satisfying.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's one of their more like like their
It sounds like
more
a
anime
like one of those.
OSTs.
Yeah, it does sound like an anime OST, and I like a lot of them, but I feel like that's not the genre of anime OST that I watch normally. I don't watch rom coms.
La, la, la,
Makes sense.
la, la.
Anyway, what about on your end? I guess you haven't listened to it on your end, so
Oh yeah, I haven't gotten to listen to it yet. But,
yeah, that's fine. We already started.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so artificial intelligence. What are your guys' thoughts? Go on.
Oh, jeez.
Well, there's Astro, which is like Astro Boy, which is like such a good movie, and like I was just super inspired by Astro Boy. But then there's obviously like the creepy side where everybody thinks that AI and robots are gonna take over the world.
I have
Go
some
ahead.
experience with artificial intelligence because I've taken a couple courses in it, and I also run my school's artificial intelligence club because I want to make it more accessible. Because nowadays, if you want to learn AI, you either do it by learning it online or you pay a lot of money to take a class. And I'd rather help teach people. So basically, neural nets are like a means of doing machine learning in which a computer learns to perform a task by getting a lot of examples and data, right? So if you have like an object recognition system, you get a lot of labels of cars or houses or cups or whatever, and it would find like patterns in those images. So currently, it's not about like sentience or anything, but it's just it's modeled after the brain, as we're going to talk about, I think, later. In that there's like a lot of nodes and layers, and then there's data moving through them, and then depending on how closely the data matches the value of the data, it like shifts the weight. And then like over time it gets better at recognizing the pattern.
So what's your opinion on it?
I think currently we're definitely not at like whatever sentience level people think about it. Have you seen that one YouTube video called Genocide Bingo?
I have not. But I'm wondering, like, do you think that we should advance it more? Because I know a lot of people are scared. Like, you see those deep fakes where they make celebrities look like they're saying things they're not saying, and using artificial intelligence. So I'm wondering, since you work with it, like, are you kind of wary of how advanced it can become to like the point where we can't really control it?
I think we're still safe. Definitely, we're still safe right now. But there might be a point in time where, like, if you even if you create artificial intelligence and you say you make it promise, for example, never to harm people, it can just pretend to do that and then figure out other stuff, right? It's smart enough. It would, at that point, it would be smart to do that. But I think like definitely for now we're safe with the artificial intelligence acting on its own. But with people can like Photoshop, like you can Photoshop a picture of stuff onto someone and like fake it in general. I don't know. Pretty far away from the movies that we think of when we think of AI.
And how do you feel like it might like help some neurodivergent kids in particular? Because I know that a few ways that people have been saying it could help them would be like they have quicker diagnosis and they have quicker treatment, and it like because of like I'm not too well versed in how like it works like mechanism wise, but I know that there's some devices that kind of adapt to their learning and social needs as they move forward and kind of learn from that.
I mean, like searching up the I did some Google searches for the words like neurodivergence and machine learning, and a lot of the stuff that came up was like diagnosing, right? And you would just probably take a bunch of samples and train them, and yeah, but I don't know. I thought there would be something about like how you would have an AI specifically tailored to model like a neurodivergent brain. I thought I would find something like that, but I didn't. So maybe that's something that people haven't been looking into.
So, right, since you like already work with it, so what are the types of ways that like in our everyday life artificial intelligence is being used? Because I understand that it's not, like iRobot or like Terminator, but it's definitely kind of seeing itself into our way of life. So what are like the basic ways that it's being used? I didn't know that it was actually being used to help with neurodivergence anyway, but I'm just wondering in our day-to-day life since 21st century.
Well, I mean everyone pretty much has it at this point. If you have stuff like Siri, that's like a chatbot that gives you information, or Google Home, YouTube's algorithm. Oh wait, yeah, we can talk about YouTube's algorithm. So have you heard about the LGBTQ stuff?
Yes.
Wait,
Yeah.
which LGBT?
So yeah, so
basically
wait,
demonetizing
so YouTube,
us.
yeah, because
What?
because okay, the algorithm that they use right now is it's neural network, so it's being trained through like user input, right? So if you flag something, or like if people, because they can't keep up with the influx of videos that are coming in, so they can't like judge all of them to see whether there's inappropriate content or not. So this results in them basically, like, the algorithm itself learns that specific like keywords or phrases are not like okay. And also at the same time, YouTube has to, I think, keep up like a friendly image across other nations that may not be accepting of LGBTQ culture. So it flags and demonetizes those voices, stuff with those kinds of words in them. I think there was a video where someone made like a basic list of all the keywords that they would ban. I'm sure it's more complex than that, but it's something like that. And like, for example, if you had the N word, you would get banned, even if you're like using it to like teach an educational video or something. Same thing happened with vaping. Like, there's stuff like that. But it's just like the irony of the fact that during Pride Month, YouTube becomes like every other company and promotes Pride voices, LGBT queer voices, and tells them to speak up. At the same time, suppresses their, the way their revenue, essentially.
Is that true? Because I was seeing earlier, especially during like the 2016 campaign and really all throughout Trump's presidency, where a lot of POC creators were getting upset because you had these basically alt-right, white nationalist, basically neo-Nazis on YouTube who were not getting demonetized, and they were getting, no type of flagging on their content. But yet, like you said, LGBT groups are being demonetized, and that was a big problem with YouTube. So, I still see like white nationalist videos on YouTube that have no type of censorship on them. So I think it's pretty crazy that they're censoring queer voices but not racists.
Well, yeah, and also I think, it's just because they have so many videos being uploaded that they can't watch every single one. But they hired a bunch of people at some point. I heard those people were like treated really, really badly and paid very low income to basically watch videos and then judge if they're okay or not. And it just depends person on person what they think is bad. And there might be a bunch of people in there, for example, who may not like the LGBTQ community, and they might demonetize those videos. So
I know to a smaller extent that mental health videos have also been demonetized because they aren't, well, I'm not sure if it's demonetized really, but definitely like not considered very advertising friendly. So they've been kind of kept off search results for the most part.
Oh, okay. Because typically, like, when I try to search up, like, anything neurodiverse videos, there aren't really that much. Just, like, maybe, like, explanation or, like, those kind of videos. There's actually not that many that really could just cover the topic in general on YouTube.
Yeah.
I read somewhere about how a lot of neurodiverse people are being hired to test some machines that include, like, AI, because people who are neurodiverse usually, kind of like they say, neurodiversity isn't always a downside. It can also be like an advantage as well. So I know some companies have been looking for neurodiverse people with like really good memory capacity and stuff like that to like test their
I think
AI
Forbes did an
products.
article like that. Yeah, that was just like companies should look into hiring neurodiverse people who are very good at excelling in these kinds of problem solving big math, energy tasks, like working with AI. And they should look into having specific work conditions to assist neurodivergent people, because those are a very good asset to the team.
Yeah, and I think that one thing that we have touched on a bit like earlier was some of like the more ethical, moral, and like maybe socio-political factors behind artificial intelligence. And you already touched on that, like why people are so hesitant about artificial intelligence and how it's been portrayed in the media. But would you want to elaborate on that a bit more?
I don't know. I think a lot of fiction is really, really, or sci-fi, I guess, is really, really good at making, like, cementing those types of images. Like, how Jaws was like single-handedly responsible for planting this image of like dangerous sharks in people's minds. I think that's kind of similar, but I mean, it's potential. I think it has potential that we might make very, very smart AI. But I think at the moment we're not there.
I mean, but you think we should keep working towards it, right? So if we keep working towards it, won't we eventually reach that point when it's like dangerous and then people might not stop? Or won't we even know when they've like reached that breaking point?
I mean, yeah, I guess that's really is the risk of like going into those types of fields. I mean, AI is still a really hot topic right now, and people are probably hiring a lot for it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but I think we can still go further before like getting to that sci-fi like place.
I honestly doubt it. Even in medicine, like they're literally already cloning people, so it's like.
Dude, I heard they do it. They did it. They like did it successfully, right? To prevent a disease in the child, a genetic disease in the child, or something like
Yeah.
that. That has high key scary implications, and then it'll be like some capitalistic shit in which rich people can pay for their kids to have specific traits.
Actually, I
Yes.
remember when me and Maxine were actually first creating modern divergence. We were talking about how, like, I think we were talking about how people were like editing, genes and stuff, and how people might not want their children to have like autism or like some kind of neurological disease. And I think it was Maxine who was talking about how there was this video of this woman who was like, why wouldn't somebody want someone like me or something like that? Correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong, Maxine.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think I touched on that a bit. It's kind of like eugenics sort of type of thing, I think.
Oh yeah, social
Wait,
Darwinism.
it is eugenics. It's literally eugenics.
Yeah, basically.
Right?
I think
Specific
so.
traits are better than others. If you have a disability, then you are not fit to be as good, as productive in society as you could have been, and therefore are not as good.
Mhm.
Yeah, but just going back to what we were saying before about how artificial intelligence can be used for kids, I'm kind of thinking, do we want to kind of take away that livelihood from professionals? You know, the way that we have it now, we have specialists, mental health specialists, school counselors, therapists, things like that. Do we really want to move away from that type of treatment in the future and just rely on basically machines to help neurodivergent kids? Because I mean, I don't know if this makes me conservative, but I feel like we should keep it on a more, what do you call it, personal basis, especially with what do you call it, conditions like autism, where some kids may be having more trouble to connect with people socially. I feel like it would be more beneficial to have that on a person to person type of treatment instead of relying on like machines for the future.
I mean,
Hmm.
you can say that with practically any field, like the healthcare field. People are still like, hey, should we have humans do surgery or should we have these robots do it? Or in like the law field, should robots be doing all this lawyer work or should we have our actual lawyers who have been doing so and so years? So for
Lawyers, robot lawyers, I haven't even heard about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like having robots do like the filing and all of that some lawyers do, or like the transcripts for court cases.
Oh, well, I don't see
Oh,
anything wrong with
transcripts.
that.
Oh wait, there are flaws in robot, like in transcription robots right now, because like if someone coughs, for example, they're gonna take that down. But if you have like a legitimate person, then they won't.
There, people make mistakes too, so it's like when it comes to tedious work like that, personally I feel like it's better to make the investment in a robot that can do it perfectly than constantly relying on humans
People.
who
Yeah.
always make errors. Kind of like, this is kind of a pivot, but kind of like in baseball, I don't know if any of you are baseball fans, but I'm a huge baseball fan, and there's like a big controversy of taking away the umpires and just making everything electric, because people were like, this has been the game, this is how it's always been, but umpires make very, very costly mistakes during the game all the time, and because of the way the game's set up, you can't really take it back. And so, taking that example and putting it to a more serious thing, like, transcripts, you have one, what do they call them, stenographers, makes one mistake and then the entire transcript messed up, and that could be the difference between somebody's innocence or their guilt. There are some jobs that you should keep with people and some jobs that I feel like we can easily move towards robots.
I think all jobs which require direct contact with people should be kept to people.
There's also the aspect with AI that, especially when dealing with neurodivergence, that a lot of times neurotypical people aren't necessarily the best in dealing with social interactions with neurodivergent people. So there was actually like an article in the New York Times back a couple years ago when someone wrote about how her son, who was on the autism spectrum, had like a really cool in-depth experience with Siri and like was able to connect with Siri. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that Siri and other AI-based programs like that are, they don't detect sarcasm and things like that. So there's also that aspect of it.
So in a way, a lot of these devices are neurodivergent in their own right. I don't know.
One way to look at it.
Yeah. I was also like reading, because I've been doing a whole ton of reports lately on artificial intelligence, which is probably why I decided to bring it up. But I was reading up about this one thing, you guys probably already heard of it, the Turing test. Just back in the 1950s, this guy, Alan Turing, formulated a bit of an experiment where he would decide like whether or not a robot could be considered intelligent. And they would basically pit a human against a computer interface, and they would have a bit of a chat, and after that chat the human would determine whether or not like it was convinced that they were chatting with a human. And since then, like a bunch of robots have already passed that test, but none of them have really been considered artificially intelligent. And I was just wondering, like, what is artificial intelligence basically?
I mean, what is sentience, I guess, I think is your question, right? Where does it
Basically.
border between making a really good calculation and sentience?
Yeah.
No clue, man.
I mean, yeah, that's like a very moral question, don't you think? I mean,
The fuck is
artificial
sentience?
yeah, they like what we learn in basically any computer science class is that like artificial intelligence is basically when the computer can do things that you didn't specifically embed in it to do. So it just learns, you give it stuff that learns and they can do stuff that you didn't, hard code in there. But I feel like that's different from consciousness. I don't know. I just feel like if we get too technologically advanced, you're gonna have people saying, robots deserve rights, robots are as sentient as people, and I'm like, I don't want it to ever get that far.
They
But I
do
feel
have
like
that, right? A robot citizen. Her name is
where?
Sophia or something like that. She's a citizen.
I mean, maybe, but like not in the. I don't. Well, I mean, I don't know. I've never heard of this, but not in the way that you would have rights, like how you and I have rights.
And I guess it depends on how you define, like, see sentience in and of itself, because I know that in the field of neuroscience particularly, they don't really like dealing with things like that. Like a lot of the neurophilosophical things like sentience, they kind of go for more of a materialist worldview, so they just think that humans and everything that we have going up mentally, it's all biological and it's all just a series of neurons interacting with one another and electrical charges, and there's nothing after that. But like in philosophy, of course, they're like, well, what if the brain and the mind are two completely different things? So there's like a whole lot of just like ethical implications with artificial intelligence.
I mean, essentially, AI is just showing a very smart baby a lot of things.
I don't know. I just feel like when we start
Right.
like trying to equate robot intelligence to like human intelligence, then it becomes a very dicey game.
Yeah, like at what point does AI have sentience, right? Because humans have sentience, and that is what gives them their rights.
I don't think it could ever become sentient. I think it could become very advanced. It could look almost identical, but to be sentient, it means you could have never been programmed for anything.
Or like
That's
self-aware, right?
Yeah, I mean, even some robots they claim they're programmed to be self-aware that they're a robot, but it's like there's no feeling behind it. Like, they can't feel anything. So it kind of sounds like too futuristic of an argument, but
Tell that to Astro Boy.
Yeah, I think we're pretty far away from the idea of robot sentience, I think. But
I was actually thinking of that one show on Nickelodeon, My Life as a Teenage Robot.
Oh.
I love that show. Oh my god.
I think we've brought up the Matrix a lot in this podcast already.
I have not seen The Matrix. I am the bad person.
You should do yourself a favor and watch it immediately.
Keanu Reeves.
Ugh,
He's so breathtaking.
young Keanu Reeves. I mean, how could we be so blessed? But yeah, it's a good movie.
IDK, I was wondering, maybe you guys have some really spicy takes, like, no, artificial intelligence is the devil, and we should kill all the robots before they kill us, or something like that.
Tweet and discuss.
read-
Can we discuss the word female?
What?
Okay, we're not going to discuss the word female. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
I don't want to enter that pothole, but like, what about the word?
Or like why does it hold like that energy? Do you know what I mean?
What do you mean energy? Like feminine energy?
When people like, for example, when people say when men use the word females instead of women, it dehumanizes women.
What's up, females?
I kind of associate it with whenever they call...
I associate them with incels, that's fine.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I kind of associate it with that because incels tend to call women femoids, and that's kind of like a notch above female, and female's just so, hello, female. It doesn't sound natural.
But I really want to analyze it. But anyway, this is not the episode for that. We're talking about AI. So
Well, I don't know, because you have these Silicon Valley guys who are basically just incels who are really smart, and they might just create, what do you call it, their own artificial intelligence femoids.
Oh, the sex doll thing.
I
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
jump straight to sex doll. But have you ever seen that movie Her?
No, but okay.
Yeah.
Like basically this guy, I mean, it's in the future. The guy didn't make it, but like he basically falls in love with Siri. Is basically what happens. And the whole movie's like about how he's trying to be, everyone's like, she's not real, but the Siri sounds hot, so basically that's enough for him. And it was very, very, very creepy. I don't even know how that got nominated for Best Picture.
I mean, she's not real. It doesn't hurt anybody.
I mean, you can say that, but it's obviously hurting this guy because he's like forming an emotional attachment to like an application. And then at the end of the movie, like the Scarlett Johansson Siri was just like, yeah, all of the series are gonna leave, so bye. And then the guy was like completely torn up over, again, an app.
I mean, this is already happening, kind of semi in real life, right?
I mean, even though it's
It's
already
kind of
happening, doesn't mean
what
it's
dating
good.
simulators are for.
Yeah, but this one is like it responds to your legitimate yourself, I
DDLC.
guess. DDLC is a good piece of media, but I think it's a little bit overrated. But that is not a hot take. But that is kind of a hot take, but not a popular opinion.
It's a pretty hot take. I like how it kind of it's definitely a bit of a call out, and I just like that aspect of it.
It subverts your expectations of it being a dating simulator by becoming a sentient horror game that tries to criticize you for playing it.
They made another app like tied to it just for like one particular girl, just Monica, and
People
it's
like that
basically
stuff.
just her like, oh, you found out that I'm sentient, we're way above everybody else, let's just fall in love and talk for hours.
People
on
like to use the
end.
word deconstruct a lot, so DDLC deconstructs the genre because it talks about like the actual implications of being a robot girl trapped in a game where you're forced to date some unappealing dude.
Yeah, now that I'm looking, because like I don't know about where y'all are, but in Maryland, they've started to kind of hand out kind of the protocols for school in the fall, county by county. And I was thinking, if artificial intelligence becomes as advanced as we see in our sci-fi media, like, would you even really need teachers anymore? Because you could just make a program that would probably be a better teacher than any of the ones that go to school and then are actually teaching us now.
I think that's jobs that interact with people directly, especially ones as influenced as like young people should be like taught by people.
Did we
Yeah,
ever need
I feel the same.
teachers?
I feel like they were nice.
But I think like teachers inspire your passion for the things you want to do when you grow. Like it should be their job to inspire passion within you to figure out what you want to do when you're older.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking like now, all these kids that have online class. I mean, like for instance, you had kids that are already taking online school before, So basically, thinking back to spring semester I guess you could call it last school year. I don't know about y'all, but all I had for my teachers were like PowerPoints and maybe a 30-minute Google Meet call like once a week. And I'm thinking in the future, if we just had simulate teachers who talk like real people, act like real people, seem like they're sentient, have a plethora of more knowledge than any college graduate could ever have because we're human, wouldn't that be more beneficial overall for the teaching of our kids? Even though that's taking away an entire like legacy and a profession, wouldn't that just make a better generation of teachers? Even
Isn't
though they aren't
that
people
basically
anymore?
just like a more fine-tuned version of of Google?
Yeah, basically. And I mean, wouldn't it be cool to have like a teacher that when you ask them questions, they don't just say, I don't know, read the textbook?
I don't know, because I think you just had a bad teacher.
It's not about having a bad teacher. This isn't like, I don't have like vendettas against my teacher. This is like a basic thing. Like teachers don't know everything. They might not necessarily be rude about it, but no matter, even if you have a teacher that goes to Harvard or whatever, they're not going to know every single answer to every single question you ask. And especially when you go into neighborhoods, like more low-income neighborhoods where they have less experienced teachers that are less equipped to be helping students, especially ones that are in more compromising situations, wouldn't it hypothetically be more beneficial to the student to have a type of Google as a person teacher than the ones that we have now?
Well, I think there's also the aspect, like, I feel like that might work more for homework helpings, but also teachers, like, their role also to students is a lot of times serving more as like a mentor figure. Like there are a lot of teachers at my school who I knew were like taking students in and like really providing them with things like mental health services, or like there were a couple kids who were on suicide watch, and teachers are really like dealing with those things as well. So I think there's also like the more human aspect of what teachers do and how they serve students. I'm not really sure you could replicate that with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, but I think for like a situation like having a low income neighborhood, having like some teachers are just really bad in that they don't provide, they don't do like the job of a teacher is supposed to inspire the student. In that maybe I have a really good teacher and I can see how my teacher is very, very passionate in the thing that they do, and that makes me passionate for the same thing. But if I had a robot, I would not be able to grow that kind of passion for learning or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I'm just thinking, because we were having that discussion of what if robots and artificial intelligence gets so advanced that we have to have that kind of argument of like what makes them different from a person, what makes them sentient. If we get to that point that they're so advanced that they're basically sentient and they act like us, who's to say that they can't form that same connection, even though it might not be real on their end because they can't feel anything, but it could be real on our end. Like, okay, asking for like the weebs in the conversation. Have any of you watched the anime called Chopits?
No.
I heard weebs and I just came back.
Oh my god, this is like tearing my, because like I was a weeb from like, what do you call it, early 2000 anime to like 2016, and then I stopped, and now like I don't know anything.
I've heard of Chobits. I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's like a show from like the late 2000s in a manga that's really good. Okay, it doesn't matter. Basically, it's a world where like, I don't want to say it's like they have sex dolls for fun, because it's not. There's a lot of fan service, but it's not about sex. Basically, they just have these robots that are like people, except they're robots, but every way else they're like people, and they have them as waitresses and teachers and nannies and all this type of stuff. And like the main character falls in love with one of the chobits, because like a chobit's one who like, can actually feel things, which they don't really explain well, but that's beside the point. And I'm saying if we get to that point where, honestly, to you as the person, I mean, we're dumb people, we only like to feel things, feel pleasure. If we get to the point where I don't really need you to feel anything for it to benefit me, if I just feel like we're making a connection even though you aren't capable of having feelings, that's enough for me. What's the benefit of just knowing that your teacher reciprocates the feelings for you if you're still getting the benefits that you would regardless?
Wait, there's this one anime, I don't remember what it's called, but basically like this girl like orders basically a boyfriend. So she orders a boyfriend and it's a whole robot, right? But he's cute, he's like sweet and all of that. So she like falls in love with him. But then I think like one day they like come and take him away and like they like I'm sorry, it's just funny. They like pack him up because he's a robot. Maybe like 20 years later she like finds him again as a freaking robot in the company. And yeah, I just wanted to share that.
We could definitely bring in like a whole ton of shows and games into it. Like, have you guys played Detroit Becomes Human?
Nope.
No. Well, it basically does talk about that, because this does feature a society, like a future version of Detroit. I don't know why it's set in Detroit, but it is. And they kind of do show like, all of the robots in this society are basically humans. They look like humans. They basically function like humans, but they're all segregated. It's definitely like a class thing too, because they're all segregated into these roles. Like, these are the nurse robots, these are the helper robots, these are the robots that you procreate with, all of that stuff. It's really kind of oof. And
like a caste system?
Kind of a caste system, but like I think it's mostly just like this is your function, and if you want to like deviate from it, I think that was like the kind of commentary that was going for. There's that, and then like in that, robots do kind of take a very supplemental role, because I do think that if this were to happen in the future, I don't really see robots replacing humans, but really working together with humans. I don't think they're mutually exclusive, really.
Yeah, I feel like that whole thing with like robots taking over is just like for entertainment purposes. At least we hope so. Do you ever see those videos of like the US military where they have those, I mean, like we spend like $1 trillion and they have these like basically battle robots. And obviously these are like, brainless things, we program it. But if something goes wrong, if they just, I don't want to say become agitated because they can't feel, but if they just turn on the wrong person and become completely ruthless, that's kind of like Terminator-esque, I think.
It seems like TV show writers and movie writers have spent more time thinking about our future than we have.
Yeah, there's like a whole genre about it that I won't really get into too much depth because I'll just like nerd out about it. It's called cyberpunk. Definitely look it up. It's basically all about that. If robots end up taking over our world, if we end up becoming cyborgs ourselves, it's pretty interesting stuff.
Oh my God,
Keanu Reeves.
Is this
you
a
just
ship
made me
of
think of
Theseus analogy?
Cyborg from Teen Titans.
High key ship of Theseus. If you replace your arms with robot arms and legs with robot legs, how like much robot?
Then we would just have to talk about sentience again, because like, if you're a sentient robot, does that make you human, or does it make you a human with like mechanized parts, or does it make you a robot with sentience?
That's cyberpunk, baby. Like how
As long as
like if you replace all yourself with robot like parts, like at what point do you not become you?
if you can have a brain, like a mind, if you can feel, but oh my God, because now I'm thinking, you know that movie Blade Runner?
Yeah.
Where like, spoiler alert, he like doesn't know that he's in the simulation. And he doesn't know.
Wait, don't tell me. I didn't see it. I haven't seen Blade Runner. I should. I've been meaning to.
I just said spoiler alert.
I know, I took off my headphones.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're safe. I mean, if you have like a human brain, I feel like you ever see those things where it's like they're whatever they're doing, they're like freezing Walt Disney until we have the technology. Yeah, cryogenic. Yeah, thank you. Where like they're freezing him until we have the power to bring him back, and they're just gonna put his head on some robot. Like as long as you got a bit of human brain in there, I think you pass.
I mean, you are just a brain in a meat sack. Who knows?
That's like the perfect way I would describe it. Yeah.
I mean, as long as we don't even know whether animals are really sentient, then
Are animals sentient? Right, that's
that's another.
I mean, bugs aren't. Like we've already proven that bugs aren't. But in terms of like other
what
mammals,
is sentience? If you have feelings, is that sentience?
I mean, it depends what you mean by feelings. Because, like, for example, we know that bugs don't have sentience because if you put basically like how some bugs, let's say caterpillars, work is that they'll leave a trail. So if you leave a trail of their goo that allows them to know where to go and where they've been, if you leave it in a circle, they'll keep going in a circle until they like just starve to death because they don't have any feeling, they don't have any sentience to know that they're doing something that's not in their best interest. So just working off that, I guess you could say that if you aren't able to do things that would be in your own self-interest, if you don't have a feeling of want, then that's one of the criteria I would use to say whether or not you're sentient or not.
But then won't we be kind of weighing them against human standards of sentience? Like, what if they're sentient, but like just not as, I hesitate to say, intelligent as us?
I mean, I would say like it's kind of hard to battle that argument because our entire idea of sentience comes from the human standard. So, you know.
Like robots are not currently sentient, but they are very intelligent.
Yeah, they're more intelligent than us for sure. But we only know one way of being sentient, and that's ours. And so, you know, I mean, how else would you kind of define it then?
My standard used to be if they could make art.
But because art can be anything.
Art? Yeah, yeah, right. But if they like understand the concept of art, that they are sentient.
But how will we test that they understand the concept?
I have no clue. I'm stupid. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, it's like we're going down a pothole.
You've heard the AI that like replicates or like continues off of melodies or like songs, right? That's art. I don't think the robot understands what the gravity of what this thing has done.
Yeah, because to them, like, it would just be vibrations. It would just be beats and melodies, not something that you feel.
It's just it's an output.
Yeah, it's an output, which is like scary because yeah, it's like if you can't appreciate things like art, culture, music, you know, that's what the scholars say makes us human.
It's an output, but so is like hacking into the databases of major countries and setting off their bombs, you know.
But like the robot doesn't have any stake in that. We're the ones making them do that.
Well, in artificial intelligence, you can't. Well, they're trained to do something. Like nothing is in artificial intelligence. You program it, the structure, and then you just let it go. You let it train itself.
No, what I mean is like if I didn't want the robot to hack into something, at least I would hope I would be able to be like, don't hack into it. Because if you can't control it, then I think that's incredibly dangerous, right?
Yeah. Like, obviously. I mean, I guess we could control it by feeding it, like, specific, like, currently, we could probably just feed it data that would skew it in a certain manner.
I know there's one robot that, like, you can't beat it at chess, not chest. And another robot that you can't beat it at rock, paper, scissors, but it cheats. It's like the robot sees, like, 2 milliseconds when you're about to make the motion and this does the exact opposite, which I would say isn't really beating someone at rock, paper, scissors. That's just cheating and using your super camera ability to do so.
I mean, like, the AlphaGo thing, it's really weird that, like, a person who is not as smart as the best AlphaGo player made a robot that is smarter than the best AlphaGo player.
Yeah, I wish I was into all that stuff because it's completely fascinating that people can create a machine that could do something so perfectly every single time. There are so many things that exist that even till this day, I don't actually understand how it works. Like, I've looked up how a camera works, and I gotta be honest with you guys, I still don't understand it.
Oh yeah, I found something interesting. Robots and Racism, a study conducted and published by the country's University of Canterbury, suggests people perceive physically human-like robots to have a race, and therefore apply racial stereotypes to white and black robots. These colors have been found to trigger social cues that determine how they react and behave towards other people, and apparently robots.
Honestly, in like 50, no, not 50, but like in 100 or 200 years, race just won't even exist anyway, so we'll have to get rid of that bug. Though, have you seen how cameras, especially from, like, the way that we have cameras now, are geared towards white people, so it's very hard for, facial recognitions for people of color, because all of history, cameras have been made to basically cater to white skin. I watched a video about that from Vox, and it was just completely irritating how deep racism can go, even in the STEM field, where it's all a math and a science.
Yeah, and I was like, you probably didn't notice it, but for like a day, I was using an AI generated photo from this app that basically paints you in a Victorian paint style. And they addressed it at least, like, hey, this app is geared towards Caucasian faces, so your results won't be accurate. And I was like, okay, I guess it's just like a Caucasian version of me in a Victorian painting, but it was still cool.
I was wondering whether it was a white girl as your profile picture, but I just didn't. I let you do your thing.
I think at the same time, that kind of stuff can be really good at identifying art theft, where it can find two very, very closely related pictures and determine whether one was a repost of the other one.
Man, I just keep thinking about, because we kept on talking about animes, I keep thinking about this one that I was watching. It's called Baka to Test. It's set in a high school, and they have simulated versions of themselves, and they're always competing to kind of advance to the highest class rank and steal the other class's facilities. So they have to make their little avatars as buff as possible by studying and kind of beat them in a digital war.
Oh my god, I love
Oh, me too. I want to be buffed by
such a good
studying.
anime.
Oh, you watched it?
Yes, it's a really good anime.
We're petitioning to make an anime channel in the Discord.
After years of being a weeb, I feel like I don't have the attention span to watch stuff anymore. So, like, I have my top ones, and that's kind of it for now.
Not even a 12-episode anime?
Well, yeah, I just don't have, I mean, probably, but, like, I don't have the stamina to watch, like, long stuff anymore. I don't know. I feel like I've grown high standards.
Yeah, I get that.
Watching a variety of stuff and determining
I
that,
don't
like,
like watching the short stuff, like the 12 episodes one. I prefer the ones with like 70 plus episodes.
Go watch Hunter x Hunter.
You're
Really
crazy.
Hunter x Hunter. I love Hunter x Hunter.
It's super good. It's like 148.
Watch it like 3 times.
Okay, I'm trying to watch that right now, Hunter x Hunter, because it's really hard to get into. No, it's not really. Okay, because my favorite anime is Yu Yu Hakusho, and it's made by the same person.
Oh, it's made by the same guy.
Yeah, oh my god, I love that show. Oh my god,
Togashi is amazing.
Yeah, which it's also funny that he's married to the creator of Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon, yeah. They both said right, honestly.
Goals, yeah, shonen and shoujo icons, but like, complete side note, I've been trying to get into it. I watched the original 90s anime, and it pissed me off because I was already attached to like the voice actors and the art style, and then I have to get thrown into like the 2012 version, and I'm trying to watch it on Hulu, but we're watching the sub. I originally watched the dub because like if it's a 90s anime, I'm always gonna watch the dub because they were better back then than they are now. But now I have to watch the sub, and it's like the characters don't sound the way I need them to sound, but the dub and like the 2011 anime is so bad that I can't listen to it, and I'm just like in a very, very lost place because like I have no time to watch subs anymore. Like I can't watch any shows that I have to be fully into it and be reading to watch it. So I've been stuck.
That's so weird.
It might be because I just keep on thinking when I was younger, I would just spend whole hours just watching anime, watching subs, and I can't even do that anymore.
Like, personal gripe, I just don't like people who won't watch any foreign things because they have to read subtitles. Like people who wanted a dub of Parasite because they couldn't read subs.
Parasite, like the movie, or Parasite the anime?
No, the movie.
Oh, dude, I don't understand anyone that like if it's live action, like you need to grow up. If it's an anime, I can understand, but
why?
Because there's a lot of animes, like unless the anime is like it's very important to the plot, Japanese culture, then I'm like, I don't really need to. If the dub is good, then I'll watch it. Like Cowboy Bebop, I don't know a single person that's ever watched Cowboy Bebop with subtitles. Like the dub is just too good. You have?
Yeah, I do not watch any dub. I mean, I wouldn't say disrespectful, but I do think you should watch it in sub if you don't like.
I think sub captures more of the original intent more than dub does. So if I want to experience like the voices like more truer to the original.
What about a show like Black Butler where it's like literally in Britain?
I don't honestly.
I think, but I still think like the tone of the voices or like the range or like the vibes of the voice still match the original intent. Like no matter what kind. I don't know.
I'm a bit divided on it personally because I do have a lot of friends in like the voice acting industry that do have to do a whole lot of dubbing, and I'm into voice acting a lot myself. So just like listening to dubs, it's kind of like that's the product of a lot of our hard work, and like it's not the best, but you can only do so much within the confines of like a bunch of mouth flaps. You feel?
Yeah, I get that, and I also have a lot of friends that are voice actors. I think in general, like the voice acting for anime in Japan is probably more highly respected.
I mean, like I don't think it has to be mutually exclusive
for
like,
anime.
I don't. Yeah, I never understood people that were like only the sub because there are some dubs that are just objectively good. Like
I think some dubs are good, but it's mostly subs for me because it has the voice vibes of the author, has more input in it.
Yeah, I probably haven't watched a dub since maybe like 2014 or something like that. But I feel like for me it kind of goes into the stigma because a lot of people are like really like, oh, anime sucks because it's like in another language. Why do you watch anime? So in like one aspect, I do appreciate that dub exists because it also like increases the outreach for more people to get into anime. But at the same time, it's like, why are people stigmatizing something? Like, I guess it's just like more of a deeper thing for me, where like I don't want people to think, hey, I can just disregard that anime is anime and not like an English cartoon.
I think a lot of anime does kind of suck though. We can also talk about how the tasks we gave like robots now are like similar to the tasks that we gave women a long time ago if you want. And it's really weird that we're like feminizing these robots.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's just about feminizing. I think this in any capacity that you sexualize a robot, regardless of their gender, is.
Wait, recently I know they just made like a voice that's like gender neutral.
Perhaps I don't know, but maybe
I saw a freaking ad over it. Yeah, so they were kind of talking about that, how like.
But I feel like their defaults are all girls.
I don't know what's the harm in that. Like, if you can switch it to anything, like my Siri came as an American accent, and then I changed it to a British one. I can make it Irish, I can make it Australian, I can make it a guy. Apparently, I might be able to make it gender neutral. So I don't see any harm in making it like the default female. If you really want it to be something else, you have the option to change it. And I think that's what's most important.
If your Siri sounded like Keanu Reeves, like you would be okay with that too.
Okay, well, anything would be okay
like with
Keanu
the comforting
Reeves.
voice of Keanu Reeves.
I mean, we could end off on a note on Keanu Reeves. It's pretty cool too.
Yeah, I think he's breathtaking.
Yeah. Okay.
An AI.